Okay, you can see I have quite a mess here because I have a wonderful shipment of paints came in. My dear friend Bart, who lives in Poland, is paint is cheaper in Poland than it is in the United States. Number one. Number two, we decided to split some paint. And so, of course, that makes it even cheaper because we're splitting the tubes. And so I have actually some other paints from him and things. This is going to be in sections. The biggest section to work out was Sennelier. And I had some, as you can see, I had bought a 24 pan and love the transparency quality, love the layering quality of this a lot. And so we decided to go in on some more paints to fill out a collection. Now I have a Holbein box that I'm not currently using for Holbeins because they are in my wheel here. And so I'm picked out 40 colors, trying to stay mostly with transparent. I know I have black that is not transparent, and I have this Naples yellow, which is opaque. These two are fully opaque, and then there's a few that are semi-transparent. But I took out some from the original set that were opaque, and I just had other colors that worked better for it. And so that's how I'm doing my 40 colors, which are going to go into a Holbein box. So I've made another rather wonky colored sheet to go into the box. I'm kind of working my way through all of this. In preparation for all this, I ordered some half pans, and I also have some magnetic tape because the bottom of this Holbein box, which I really love. I just have all my Holbeins in here, and I want to keep my Sennelier together because they are transparent. They are known for their layering, and I really want to keep them all together instead of trying to fit them in somewhere. The bottom of this is magnetic, and so I need to put strips of magnets on all. It holds really nicely, and it holds 40 half pans. And so these are all going to go into here. And so that is what I am going to be doing. I'm just going to go ahead and start doing it, and then I'll speed this up to obviously have this not be a nightmare of length. I'm going to get approximately the right size and then cut a few in a row, I guess, to fit the top, which I think is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. No, that's not going to fit because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I do have 5 rows. Anyways, I'm going to do a bunch of them, and then I will pause and stick them on. So I'm just putting a magnet on the back of it and popping that in place. Now the blank ones, some of these have magnets, so that's good. I'm just going to write the number on it because all of the other Senneliers just have the number, so I'm going to put SEN 578. So that is going to be obviously for the next one. I'm making sure hopefully 9 of these fits across the. These are a little bit bigger pans than the Holbein ones. So we shall see if they all fit together. Okay, so you see there's a little bit of a gap on them, but they fit pretty good. So I'm really happy. Probably move them more to the corner. straight in the center. And there we have the first rows. Of course, now I just have to fill each one of these, which I wanted to do whilst they were in there so I didn't have to touch them and move them in, and then of course make a mess out of them. So I am just kind of sticking them in. Sennelier is nice and wet. So far so good in filling them. Of course, this is a bad angle to try to do so because I don't, and I'm going to mess up my order of my paints. So I don't even know if this is going to show. And as these settle, I can go back in and add another layer in, but I don't think. I probably won't bother because I'll just add more when I need more. So that is the first row. I am going to put, I need to get a baggie to put all of the containers in, and I'll take this and tap. But just basically let it do its thing and dry. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this and do this because I don't think you're going to want to see the whole thing, and then we'll come back for other stuff. Okay, so I actually realized as I was nearing the end that I actually have 45 slots. So these are not in order, and I'm going to have to shift the order, but I'm going to have to wait till this all dries. So these last 5 are going to have to get worked in again after these dry. The only color I left out was this 911, which was in my original set and is actually a hue instead of a pigment, and so I am perfectly happy to leave this one out because it's a hue, and you can tell that when you compare it to other Cobalt Violet's deep hue, deep colors. So that is the only one that I am not putting in. Otherwise, this box holds all of my Sennelier. So that is exciting. I've made a complete mess. So I'm going to set this out to just dry so I can rearrange things, flip this over, or I'll make a new one and get these lined up correctly. And tomorrow or the next day when this dries, then I will swatch things out. Okay, so with the aid of a tweezer, I have gotten these all in the right order, which is exciting. I think I'm still not going to swatch them tonight because I don't actually like dipping into wet paint. So I'm going to go ahead and let these dry tonight, and then I will swatch them, but at least they're in the right order. Okay, I am back. I have given these a little bit of time to dry. I did go and rearrange them with a handy pair of tweezers to put them in the right order. I'm so thrilled that all my Senneliers fit in here, 45. I just put them in the order of the sheet, going kind of, I tend to zigzag because that way when you end, if there's more reds, they're touching the reds and so forth. So I zigzag around. And so that's how I ended up doing it, and I just followed the order from the sheet that I printed off from Sennelier. I did put kind of the names on here. I probably should go back and put the numbers, but there's not a lot of space on this one. I'll probably do a bigger swatch card to really see the properties of the colors. But for this, what's in here, I really did want to find out what is transparent and what is not. That's for this set, that's the most important thing to me. So I'm going to put this up here, actually. And I think just trying to decide what brush to use. Just a square one, little square one. This is a Master's Touch from Hobby Lobby 10 square flat, but I think that'll be good. I'm going to try to keep main pigment and then water it down because I do really want this. Again, this sheet, which is very wonky, is not ideal for really getting a feel for the paints, but I do want something like this in here, so I'm going to start here. So the first color is a lemon yellow, which is a color I had. This first color is a color that I already had. So I think what I'm gonna do is get it to the top really good and then pull some thin water down because I do really want to see the thin factor. The next one is Sennelier's Light, which is a new color for me. I like this because it's still really bright, but at the same time, it's warm. This is probably a color I would use a lot. Obviously we use yellow in a lot of different things. I'm not a huge yellow fan, but I tend towards more warm colors. As you can, well, probably can't see from there, but this is Indian yellow, and I use this actually quite a bit. This is a color I had before, and it's quite warm, and it's a color that I really like, and tend to use more than brighter colors. Or cooler colors, I should say. It's actually quite bright, but it is a warmer rather than cool. The next one is Naples. Now, this one is opaque, and it's quite opaque to me. I had some color on there from, oops. The reason that I was excited to try this, in fact, I bought a Daniel Smith Naples, is because Naples mixes well. I saw a video, and who knows, it's terrible. I have no clue who I saw. If I can remember, I'll link it. I think I can picture her. I can't remember her name. And she talked about using Naples in skies when you want warm skies because it doesn't turn green so much as other mixings of blues and yellows. So, and that is the case. You will get a little bit of green turning, but it's not as predominant as other colors. So that's why I got that one. The next color is a red orange. I can fill probably actually a little more into that. That one's settled quite a bit. This is a new color. I don't actually use a lot of orange. Now I say that, and I'll probably end up using it a lot more, but I don't actually use a lot. This set, I really intend to do a lot of exploring with botanical flowers, not precise botanical, but botanical work, and that's what this is. From what you hear, this is what this is really good for. The next one is a Sennelier orange. Whoops, they're not all dry, but ooh, that's pretty. Although I really actually love that red orange. I generally, for boxes and things, I swatch pretty much solid color because, again, they're usually pretty small. That tends to be how I swatch these. However, because, again, I am trying to use the transparency of this. This is French Vermilion, which is so... actually, that's coming out orangier. I had thought I used this before, and I was kind of surprised where they put it because it had quite a brown... Did I put it in the wrong place? Is that really French? No, it's one of my older pans, so I think it is. That is definitely more orangey. Oops, it was too much water. I thought it was in a bad place because it felt a lot orangier, but that definitely works there. So I don't know what I was thinking. The next one is, of course, I can't read my own tiny handwriting. Oh, this is Rose Door Madder. There's Rose Madder Lake, and then this one is Rose Door, Dorre, I think. So I was interested in those two. I think the other one's quite a bit pinky, more pinky. It's pretty though. I will say that Sennelier moves really nicely with water. It's one of the things I do like about it. Unlike Holbein, Holbein does not move, but that's on purpose because Holbein says, you should be kind of adding the oxgall that you want to get it to move the way you want. In fact, Bart sent me a pan of oxgall, which I'm really excited about trying, especially with Holbein, because I don't use Holbein colors when I want a lot of movement, because, pick up a little water, because it doesn't move. I mean, some colors more than others. This last one is a bright red. They and that's semi-transparent, but they really just are beautiful, thinned out. And I've definitely found that you can do many different layers and it doesn't get mucky. And I think that you can probably do that with a lot of paints, but you have to be really careful. So Daniel Smith and Holbein are so bold that I can generally get the color payoff that I want really quickly, but then you don't get all of the different layers. And if you keep going, you start to kind of muck up the painting. Now, could you really thin those out? Yes, I have seen people, for example, I know, I'm going to put a little more of this at the top. Oh, totally blanking. She has a tarot deck that I love, Shadowscape. Stephanie Poomoon Law, who has a YouTube channel as well here. And she uses lots of thin washes, and she definitely uses Daniel Smith. So you can really water it down. But these tend to, I think, just more easily go to that space. This next one is Sennelier Red. When you get kits from Sennelier, I've seen a lot of people talk about how, you do seem to get a lot of reds and pinks. And I think that's because it is kind of known for that botanical work in which you do want a lot of those colors. So I've seen, kits, when people buy them in tins, being kind of not thrilled with the colors that they're getting. This is Venetian. Actually, this is the one I think I was talking about. Yes, this is Venetian Red. And it's up here. Oh, yeah, here we go. We went this way. Orange, vermilion, rose door red, bright red, Sennelier red. And then here we have this Venetian red. So we're following the path along, but it is quite a brown color. I would personally, you can definitely see the red tones, but I would personally use this in more natural landscapey colors, like down with the burnt sienna and, those kinds of, I got too much water. Because it just feels like much more of a color that I would use down there. But I decided to keep them in, so you can see that it moves really nicely in water, which is what I love. I love just putting down water and then dropping in color, and it, you know, this paint really moves beautifully. So that's Venetian. The next is an Alrisian, which is a different color. I love Alrisian red. This is a much more of a bloody color. I think I have enough water here. It's actually quite a bloody color. In fact, it looks more like Perylene red, whereas I'm trying to find, let's see, I'm used to Alrisians like this. This is Holbein's. Now Mgrams is a little bit, but it still have pink, cool pink tones. That's almost a brown red. It's a very different Alrisian red. Or let's make sure that's exactly what they're calling it. Yeah. Well, it's Alrisian crimson. So maybe that's a different pigment. I've got to look up pigments. I'm not actually very up on what are in each pigment, and it's something I need to get better with. The next color is Carmine. 1, 2, 3, Carmine here. Which we're going now. See, we're kind of going from 2 browny, bloody colors into the pinks. And normally, I think Alrisian would be really a good sort of gateway into the pinks, but in this case, it's not so much. The next is quinacridone red. I have my friend Bart and I, who went in on these paints, we're finding we really are a fan of the quinacridones in all of their, you know, variations. It just seems to be beautiful colors. The next one is the Rose Madder Lake. So we had rose, trying to find it, more of orangey red, but Rose Madder Lake is down in the pinks, which is what I thought of as Rose Madder Lake. And I was surprised to see one that was more red-hued, but it's beautiful. You know, if you're going to do flower garden, you need lots of, this is definitely beautiful pink. I'm wondering if it's going to be close to the opera, which is next, which is a beautiful color to mix with. I don't tend to use it by itself. I really don't. You can see, well, you probably can't, but I've had these for a while, and I don't use it because it's such a vivid pink. And I'm generally doing more landscapey, naturally things. And so it's not a color that I look to a lot. However, it does mix really beautifully. And the problem is it's very fugitive. So if you're going to hang it up, or it's for a commission where somebody else is going, you don't know where they're going to be hanging it up, it can really fade. Most of my work gets scanned because it's for decks, or I'll be doing prints. And so I'm not overly worried about it, but if I was doing a piece that I knew was going to go on the wall, it wouldn't be a color that I would use. But it mixes really beautifully. And the next one is Helios, which is a purple. I know a lot of these are, was it pink purple? Oh, let me make sure it's beautiful. I wonder if this will be my, yeah, maybe this will be a good color to use. It's got more purple tones for sure. But I wonder if this would be more of a color, almost like you could use this in place of the opera. That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably, you can definitely see, and we'll see how it dries, but you can definitely see purple tones to it, but I think it might be a really good substitute for that color. And then last one here is a blue violet. I like having, we're getting a little bit of crossover here with this yellow. I like having purples on the palette because I don't like mixing, and I guess that's also me needing to get better at mixing. But I do like mixing. That wasn't the sentence I was going to say. I don't like coming back to, like, I've made a beautiful purple, and I hate coming back to get that color again, and I can't rely that I'm getting the same color back again. This is a very light color. I'm trying to get a little bit of dark up here. Beautiful though. So I do like having convenience purples in hand. Now dioxin is the opposite. Dioxin is such a dark color. Look at that. I mean, and I have a couple of these. And you just, a very little goes a very long way. The most intense, I would say, that I have is the core dioxin. That is just so intensely pigmented. This is considered semi-transparent, but the problem is that you get so much pigment that even though it may be transparent down there, and it does seem to want to move a lot as well. So that's dioxin. I really thought this was going to be more purple, so that's interesting with the Helios, because if you look, well, no, it does look like a pink purple. Yeah, no, that's right to the thing. So then that takes us into the blues, and starting with my all-time favorite blue, which is Prussian blue. I love Prussian blue. It was one of the first colors that when I was first getting into watercolor, and I knew I wanted to start building a set, I had to have Prussian blue. It was like on my must-have list. I just love it. There's a glow about Prussian blue that I think is so beautiful. I can't pronounce this next one, nor can I see it. It is indithrine, something like that. I really have to redo my glasses. Very bright. I mean, I could probably pull that out without much work. A little too much. I tend to paint very watery because I do like to have the natural motion of the pigment, but in this instance it's not making it the best to get what I'm trying to get. It moves beautifully though, look at that. So I do love how it moves in the water. The next color is a cobalt blue. Beautiful for skies. Very transparent. I'm swatching this on arches. I know that sometimes people swatch on, just cheaper paper, but if that's not paper that you use, it can really change. Sorry, this next color is Ultramarine Deep. It can change the color, and the way, especially can change the way that the paint is moving. So I would recommend, not that you have to use arches, which is because that's what I paint with, but if whatever you paint with is what I would use for your swatch card, because it could look very different and it could move very different. The next one is Sennelier Blue. Kind of, I guess, like their, Winsor Newton has all their Windsor Red, Windsor Blue. They seem to have the same with Sennelier colors. I should probably have a paper towel right here. And next we have Phthalo. It's pretty, though it looks almost a little bit milky, like it may have a white in it, but I'm sure not. I'll have to test that on a bigger one. That's the color I had, though. It's very transparent, though. They're all very transparent. I mean, even the Naples you could get down. Even the ones that, are opaque, you can certainly water them down. It's just going to take more work. This is a, how do you pronounce this? Cinerus blue, something like that. This is the color that I had, and this is opaque. I don't know that you would need this one over cobalt, to be honest, and this does feel a little, you can feel the opaqueness right away, which is one of the reasons Phthalo's good, though. If you're looking for transparent, I don't think you would need both of those, and I would go for the Phthalo. But that came with I bought an initial kit of 24, and then my friend Bart and I went a little crazy and shared some paints, and that's how we got to where we are with 45. These next three are ones I really wanted because they're turquoises, and I really love them, even though the first two are opaque, and you can definitely see it. I need to probably wash my water out, or rinse my water out. The next one is a cobalt green. Again, definitely an opaque color, but you can bring it down. This is more to the greeny turquoise. This is cobalt green. I'm just in love with these colors. There's my favorite. I love Holbein's marine and turquoise blue. I love those. This is a different cobalt green. I actually like this one better. But I love marine blue and Holbein's marine and turquoise blue. Whoa, I'm gonna lose my spinny chart. And the reason I'm not adding these, well, number one, I only have so much room on my spin chart. And number two, I really wanted to keep these all together. Whereas this is spread out in the color wheel, I really wanted all of these together because of how I intended to use these. The next color is a Phthalo turquoise. Oh, yes, this is reminiscent of the marine blue, but maybe more green tones than blue. Yeah, this is beautiful. Look at that. Love that. The next one is a forest green, which is a color I actually really like. It's so dark, and it's semi-opaque, but you can get really dark with it and use it in shadows. There is I think it is shadow green in Holbein that is similar to this. Well, not similar, but they're different colors, but it's so dark that it's beautiful to use in shadows. And this forest green is similar. I think it works so wonderful in foliage when you want to get really dark. The next color is Viridian. I am not a fan of Viridian. I don't really use it a lot. I know that most people mix it, like it's not generally one you use. This one is actually very transparent. I was kind of surprised because it is a very light Viridian. I have other Viridians that get much deeper. Holbeins. Again, Holbein is very rich pigment. But I don't ever use this by itself. And when I thought I was going to have to remove some colors, this was one of the ones I removed. But so this is Hooker. And I was a little surprised by this Hooker. It is a more sappier green than I expected it to be. It's bright and beautiful, but it's not quite the color that I expected. Let me think. What do I have? Sap. I don't think I have a Hooker right. No. Yeah, here we go. Holbein. I have a Holbein Hooker. Well, that's pretty bright too, but I think I was even surprised by that. I think that Daniel Smith's Hooker, which I don't have currently, is a little bit brighter or a little bit deeper or something. I'm not sure. We shall see when we get to the sap. But I was surprised by the color. It's beautiful, though. I do really like a Hooker green. Hooker and sap I really love. This next color I'm so excited about. This is earth green. And it's so pale. I mean, it's so pale. You can pull up a lot of pigment and it's going to stay pale. But I just think it's beautiful. And there are just times in which you just want this beautiful pale wash. I love it. I know I don't know why the pigment is so light and you really would have to use a lot to get it to be richer, but I think that's not the point of it. But it's kind of an olivey, super pale olivey, kind of, not olivey, I don't know. It's beautiful. I knew that it was going to be super pale like this, but I didn't care. The next one is sap. I'm not sure why they put this between the Hooker and the sap, but I just went in order of the sheet. So here is their sap. Well, you can see it. You can see the difference. I love sap. Sap's more yellowy. I love sap. It's probably the color green that I use the most. The next one is a phthalo green light, which is a very yellowy, bright. I have used it. I didn't think I would ever use it, and I did. I have used it. Again, I tend to, has a little bit of a milky start to it. It's just so bright. It's kind of like the opera. It's a little bit, I tend to add something to it to tone it down a little bit. That came in the set that I got. And then, yeah, this is a brown green, which I think is really interesting. Look at that. That's a yellowy, browny green. Just like what it says. Oh, I got too much one. I've got paper towels right here. Can we have a shout out for Viva paper towels and watercolor paints? Very yellow based. I may have to order the olive green and probably swap that one out because I'm surprised I didn't get an olive green. I love olive green. Okay, so that brings us down here into the ochre colors and the earthy tones. So the first one is yellow ochre, which is actually opaque. But it actually doesn't feel as milky as some of the other ones. The next one is a new color to me, which is a quinacridone gold. I'm a huge lover of quinacridone gold. in all of its variations. Daniel Smith being my absolute favorite. The old version of Daniel Smith. Okay, too much water. This is a very goldy. You don't get so much of the brown hits that you can sometimes get with quinacridone gold. The next color is Burnt Sienna. I'm a huge fan of Burnt Sienna as well. I use it all the time. This is a very muted Burnt Sienna. To me, I feel like it's a rather, you have to pull it out a little bit. It takes a little more work to pull it out. But it's beautiful and it mixes beautifully. The next one is, I cannot even read that because I need to go find my glasses. Oh, this is the Caput Mortem. I was in love with the swatches of this color. This was on a must-have of my list. Look at that. I don't know that I would put it down here, and it does. It puts it down here, you know, after the colors there, but it's such a, it obviously can get quite vibrant. It is opaque, but when it is washed out, it's really beautiful. Look at that. I guess it does have brown tones to it, but it's kind of a maroony brown. That's just gorgeous. I love it. So excited about that color. The next is a Payne's Gray, which I thought was weird to put it here, but again, just following the sheet on this one. I do love Payne's Gray, although this Payne's Gray, I started using, my first professional paints were Winsor & Newton, and their Payne's Gray is really beautiful, and it has a lot of blue to it. This one doesn't quite as much, but you can see it. You can definitely see the cool tones to it. But I will say, I think my favorite Payne's Gray is Winsor & Newton. The next one is Sepia. I think it's warm. Yeah, warm sepia. I use sepia a lot. The worst sepia I've ever used is Winsor & Newton's. It dries horribly. It just re-wet. Maybe it's the one I got. You know, I never know. You never know if you just got a bad batch. But it, I like to see how dark my sepia can use, because I use this a lot as real darks. The next color is Raw Umber. Which is actually a really transparent color in this paint. But that is what Sennelier is known for. Yeah, it doesn't, you can get it, but it's definitely a very, very transparent color, which is lovely. The next one is Transparent Brown. Which I can fill up a little bit more. That one dried down strange. Ooh, you can get quite dark there, but then you can see right away how it's going to pull down. That's beautiful. That's almost like a, oh, that's beautiful. I love the way that moves. That's really pretty. I like that. I think Bart picked that color out. And then Ivory Black, which is a very opaque black. Obviously, you don't want to entirely cover up, although it's going to be pretty obvious what it is. But see, you can still even with the opaque, you can still, wash it down pretty good. So there we have it. This is a look at my Sennelier collection, from excited filling it out to realizing I could get them all in, which made me so excited. I'm really looking forward to working with these. I would like to see, let me pull out I have some scrap paper down here. I don't know if this is, I think this is Arches. I don't really have any other paper other than some bees paper that I'm using for another project. Of course, this is not good water, but I'm gonna I'm just curious about, look at that. Oh. And this is a lot of water, so I put down a lot of water. I just wanted to see the way that it moves. That color, though, I'm really that was one of the colors I was really excited about. It's just this beautiful browny, maroony color. But I just want to see what it did when it put into some dark water, or some wet water. So there we go. I have much more to do. I have some Polish Renaissance ones to undo and swatch out. I've taken my Sennelier tin and put in my Schminke that A, that I bought, and B, that Bart gave me gave me half pans of in surprise. So I was expecting to have a small mixing set of Schminke, but all of these are Schminke except for these two, which are a Polish paint to try. So I have those to do, which I will be making videos of, and then I'm waiting for a tin today for some white nights that he sent me, and full pan white nights. So I have those. So yeah, I'm on paint overload, and I'm so excited. So there you go. I'm loving, obviously I've been working with the Sennelier. I've had the 24 pan for a while now, and I really do love them, and I love them for exactly what you hear loving them for. You can layer so many layers without getting muddy. I mean, obviously you can overwork anything and make it muddy, but in general, I definitely find that I can get more layers of paint without getting murky with the Sennelier than I can with my Daniel Smith or Holbeins. Now, again, can you water those down and do the same thing? Sure. I'm sure you can, but there's something about this. It is what people say, and I think that sometimes I've seen people swatching Sennelier and at first being kind of disappointed in the color payoff, but the color payoff builds, and the first one is always going to be paler than any other first layer of paints that I've used so far. But when it starts to build, and then you can still see those light layers below it, it's just beautiful. So I do think that the hype about the transparency and the layering ability on these is fully justified. So yeah, so there we go. I hope that you enjoyed this and have a wonderful day.